Hello and welcome to the Sensibly Speaking podcast. This is Chris Shelton, the critical thinker at large, coming at you on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and of course with video on YouTube. And as I have been in the habit of saying, if you're on YouTube and you can see what's happening here, you can see I have a special guest. Her name is Susan Gerbic. There she is waving at us, and she is got a number of credentials here, which are actually quite impressive and quite fun. She is the co-founder of the Monterey County Skeptics, the founder of Skeptic Action. She is the leader of Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia, and a regular contributor to Skepticality and contributes to Skeptical Inquirer. So welcome, Susan, to the podcast.
Hi, it's great to be here. I'm quite a fan of yours.
Awesome. Well, I have been very interested in your work since seeing a video presentation that you did where you talked about, guerrilla skepticism and Wikipedia editing and your background and reading up on how you got interested in all this. It is absolutely fascinating and very, very interesting, and also very much something I like to encourage, which is not just learning about skepticism or critical thinking and not just kind of watching the community, but actually getting involved and doing something. And that's where you step up and you get others to do so as well. And that impresses. And so first off, why don't we just dive right into it? First off, I'm sure people are wondering, what is guerrilla skepticism and what got you started on all of that?
It is kind of hard to wrap your mind around it, isn't it? So I started out being one of those people who attended conferences, listened to podcasts, read books, and was looking for my little niche. I was very social. I knew lots of people by attending lots of conferences, and I'm a social kind of person. So, I knew people, but I couldn't really figure out what I was going to do with my life in the world of skepticism, but I knew it was kind of my time to step up and start doing something. I have skills that I'm able to follow through on projects. I'm a self-motivated person, those kinds of things. I just needed something to do. I learned about editing Wikipedia on a James Randi cruise. We had a lecture on the cruise by somebody named Tim Farley, who has the website whatstheharm.net. And he talked about the importance of editing Wikipedia and why it was important for skeptics to really make sure that the articles were well written, in great shape, good citations, good photographs, and so on. And I took notes. I didn't really know what I was doing. By trade, I am a professional baby photographer. I'm retired now. I'm a portrait photographer, but mainly I focused on people under the age of 5. But anyway, so I didn't really have any skills, technical skills of any kind, but I self-taught myself Wikipedia editing. Facebook came along and I started posting on Facebook and talking about what I was doing, and people got interested. They were also interested in doing something activism related. And I got a lecture or 2 and 3 and had to come up with a name and a blog, and it just took off. I've changed how I do this, how I manage the project many times. And we keep coming up with better ways of managing a large group of people. Over time, I think we started in 2000. It's kind of hard to say because, when I started doing it, it wasn't a thing. It was just something I was doing and people started joining. And then as I said, I started lecturing on it. I think I really came together in 2011. So, yeah.
Okay. So a number of years ago then. You've been doing this for a while.
Right.
How would you describe the core idea of guerrilla skepticism on Wikipedia? Like what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish with this?
Okay, my elevator pitch is we are trying to I tell people I'm a science activist. We're trying to rewrite Wikipedia concerning scientific skepticism, the paranormal, and science, mostly focusing on the people of science, not necessarily the pages of science like chloroform or the organic properties of something. Those pages are usually in really well written already. We're working on the people who do the research, the people who are behind the scenes, the organizations, the books they write, the podcasts, the things behind. We want to support the people, have their backs. Plus, we also work on a lot of pages that are concerning scientific skepticism, the paranormal, One of our most famous pages we've done that has the most page views is spontaneous human combustion.
Which was the
Big.
thing you first got interested in this whole field for in the first place.
I was terrified of spontaneous human combustion. I mean, I really was. It is scary. It's scary.
Hmm.
Imagine you're 12 years old or 15 years old. You have no one to ask. What are you going to do? Look in Encyclopedia Britannica or go to the
Right.
library?
Right.
All I knew is that you'd be
Totally.
walking down the street and suddenly burst into flames. And what? You can't put it out. It's internal. And
Oh,
so
completely. I remember back in
terrifying.
the 70s, I think it was, or early 80s. What was that show? That's Incredible.
Yeah.
And they did this thing on spontaneous. I was like 11 or 12 years old, and I'm like, what? You can just be sitting in your living room and blow up?
Yeah.
What?
Very scary.
Yeah, it
Right?
was scary. It
And there's no
was.
way of knowing. We didn't have Wikipedia. And if you ask
No.
a friend, your friend is just going to say, "Oh, there was a little girl just like you
Yeah.
that used to live next door. One day she was riding her bicycle, and the next thing you know,
That's
she
right.
burned to a crisp. See
That's
that?
right.
That's a piece of petal. That's part of her shoe right over there. Still, because so Wikipedia came around, we can actually get some information. The internet gives us so many great sources to check these things on, but you get positive and negative from Google, so you have to have a source where you can actually get the information. If I need to go back and just kind of like finish my elevator pitch because I tend to get off on a
Oh, I
tangent.
totally distracted off that too with that. So
Sorry.
yeah, go no, go
But
ahead.
okay. So we're trying to rewrite Wikipedia in
Hmm.
all languages. So we're not doing this just in English, we're doing it in all languages possible. And we have
Ah.
many, many different people editing for us. So what the difference between what I'm doing and what a general editor of Wikipedia does is that I spend a large portion of my day just managing the project. I am recruiting people, finding them, training them, mentoring them, motivating them. I'm doing a lot of management techniques where I'm talking to them all the time, going through and checking up on them and seeing how they're doing, and trying to have somebody else help them out if they need a little help. And so I'm doing also the training. I've created my own training videos, training worksheets, and I'm doing it in a less technical way because when I started to learn how to edit Wikipedia, there's lots of resources to be able to do this on your own. But the problem is they're written in a way that they're for people who are good at understanding written direction. They're not
Mm.
good resources for somebody who's trying to do this who doesn't have the skills like a computer programmer or a software engineer or anything of that sort. I train people who are the average person who can use um, you know technology. They can use a computer, but maybe that's their only skills. They're people who haven't been used to that. Now, I do have a lot of people in the group who are computer experts and who are in the aerospace community and policemen and all kinds of different things, but really we specialize in the people, and we focus on mentoring and feedback, which is another thing you don't get a lot of on Wikipedia itself, because in Wikipedia it's pretty much anonymous. The editors don't usually know each other, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing this all on Facebook in a secret group that we call the Secret Cabal. So you
Mm.
can't get into it. I have to put you in there. One of my admins would have to put you in there. But in there, we discuss all the time. We're discussing pages that need work, and how best to word something. And so this is happening off of Wikipedia mostly, and it's social. I mean, we know each other because we attend conferences and we meet each other in real life. Like if you're going to a business thing in Philadelphia, you'll probably go and hang out with a couple people there. Or here comes a cat. Hey, get down. So cats and computers. I don't know,
That's right.
but it's just a thing. So we really are focusing on developing our people, and that's kind of what I've been working on for years. I'm a big advocate of getting people to do more things, and Wikipedia editing is a really great way of starting out on activism. So I guess that's a
Interesting.
long elevator, right?
Well, yeah, a little bit, but it's fine because I wanted to get a complete
Yeah.
picture of what you're
Okay.
doing. And But let's back up for a second because, I don't want to assume anything as far as people watching or listening to this. And I think that people might not generally get, and I know I certainly haven't, how Wikipedia actually works. It is a combined effort by thousands of people to put information into Wikipedia. Is that right?
Yes, it's crowdsourced.
Right. So the information it's not monolithic. It's not all from one place. It was created by Jimmy Wales.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I've donated to Wikipedia because it's an enormously helpful research resource for me. But how, when it comes to a crowdsourced information central data bank, which I guess is a way of describing Wikipedia, what controls are in place that prevent, blatant false information from going up there in the first place?
Just people like you and I.
Okay. So it's just people, and then somebody else recognizes. So somebody could go up there theoretically, like from, this is my favorite whipping dog lately, Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop Foundation, right? Her
Mm-hmm.
whole thing, which is just total woo pseudoscience nonsense. So they could go up there. You could have people from that group go up there and talk about the healing properties of crystals, or sticking things into body parts that is supposed to be wonderful for you, and this kind of thing. And they could put that up there as though that's real factual information. Oh wow, well I read it on the internet, must be true. It's on Wikipedia. And people like in your group will then spot that and go in there and delete it or edit it, or what's the process?
Okay, so on every Wikipedia page, so anybody who's watching this, if you want to pull up a Wikipedia page, maybe on a screen or something to the side, or afterwards, on the very right-hand corner of every Wikipedia page, there is an area called Watch List, and editors can put pages on their watch list. So if Gwyneth Paltrow and her Goop people are a page that I'm interested in, then I would add this to my watch list. There's a little star that's on the right hand side. It's white right now, but if you click on it, it becomes blue, and that's how something gets added to your watch list. So every time I want to, and some editors, they do this several times a day, you go to your watch list. It's a personal watch list for you that you've designed for yourself. And anytime a Wikipedia page is changed, you see who changed it, and what they changed, how many characters, what time of the day, what it was they said. It's completely transparent. Everything on Wikipedia is transparent. You can't hide anything you do. So you can look at it and you can see, and you can say, oh my goodness, what are they saying? And then within 2 clicks, click, you can revert that edit. So we do that all the time, vandalism. A lot of editing is done by robots, and those are called bots, and they all have fun names that are trained to go through and remove vandalism. So most vandalism is removed on Wikipedia in seconds, and it's done by robots. And it's there's keywords like if somebody's putting in the F word and just trying to put it in there, or fag, or Mohammed, or they do these really they're like 13-year-old trolls. I don't know what they are, but it's like that. They just think they get a giggle out of trying to be able to insert some kind of word into a Wikipedia page. And the robots are designed to look for certain keywords, and there's probably hundreds of robots that just go through and just delete. So you most of the time you don't see the vandalism because it's already reverted. But that's how that works. So okay, to answer your question even further, so let's say Gwyneth Paltrow, how to say her name?
Gwyneth Paltrow,
yeah, or the Goop people. I love that name, Goop. So let's say the Goop people want to make some kind of claims about jade stones or crystals or something on the crystals page. Well, and say, if you buy Gwyneth's Goop, you will find that crystals can heal you, blah, 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 in better ways. And they put a citation up to an advertisement on the Goop page or something like that. So whoever's watching the crystal page, and there's probably hundreds, if not thousands of people who would be watching the crystal page, they would just go, no, I don't think so. And then click, it's reverted, it's gone. And that's generally what would happen. If they make some kind of claim that, if they just write something and they don't put a citation for it, that's deleted right away too. So
Mm.
you have to have some kind of evidence to back up every claim that you make. Everything on Wikipedia should have a citation, and that citation needs to be from a notable source and a notable person. And when I say notable, that means that they have a Wikipedia page proving they're notable. So that's
Oh.
kind of the key. So I can't put something up on a Wikipedia page and quote Joe Green, who I don't have any clue who he is, and says Joe Green, according to him, he says that this works. No, who's Joe Green? Who cares about what Joe Green is? He might be a famous navigator, but what does he know about crystals? So he can't be, even if he had a Wikipedia page, it has to be something in his expertise. And
Okay.
so, but if he has a Wikipedia page and he's an expert on gemmology, well, we could use them on a crystal page, but maybe not about something that has to do with healing powers.
Right.
We would need a
Right.
doctor we'd quote a doctor who has written it. And then by a notable source, that usually means some place that has a reputation for having oversight, like the New York Times or even CNN, or some place that usually has somebody reviewing their work. Somebody has editorial content, has editorial control over the page. Somebody has a reputation. So let's say, um, the New York Times puts out an article about crystal healing, and it looks pretty good. Well, then we can be able to use that. We could cite that on Wikipedia as a citation. But if they got the story wrong, well, then we can call them out on that, and they have an embarrassment. It's going to be something that's going to come back and hurt them later, like the History Channel just did with the photograph that's all over the place on Amelia Earhart. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I saw something related to Amelia Earhart in the news, and I kind of went, "Oh, okay," and I just kind of glossed over it.
Right. So they said that they found this photograph of her, and that she probably lived after the time she dunked into the
Oh.
ocean. And then within 30 minutes, a Japanese blogger had found out that the photograph that they said was evidence of Earhart surviving actually was published in a magazine in Japan several years before, so couldn't be evidence of her. So what happened is the History Channel has got egg on its face. It looks really, really stupid because they didn't even do the basics of research, and they came out on the History Channel saying, "Hey, we've got evidence of, Amelia Earhart surviving her around the world travel, and that she lived in Japan as a prisoner of
Okay.
war."
But the picture
So,
was actually preceding her death by years.
and it wasn't even of her. It was just somebody
Ah.
that vaguely looks like her, and they couldn't even tell if it was a female. It was ridiculous. But my point is that the History Channel is going to pay in spades for doing bad research. So, you would think that maybe the History Channel would be something you could cite, but now the credibility is going down, and it's not something that's reputable as much anymore. So your reputation is there. So we can't really use the History Channel for that reason, because they're being proved that they don't have good oversight of their articles, or their
Right.
things they're releasing.
All right, I get it. Although, of course, the argument could be made for proponents of the History Channel that it was just aliens.
Yeah, but we need a citation for that. So if somebody's
Right.
trying to make an extraordinary claim, then we have to have extraordinary evidence, as you well know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you
Absolutely.
can't just say I can fly, and I saw my neighbor next door flying, around the backyard, and I want to use that as a Wikipedia link. Oh no, it has to be extraordinary citation, and
Right.
that's kind of reaching. So I don't think we can use something like that.
Right. Now the standards you're talking about are the standards that you guys use, because if I am understanding this properly, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody could write a Wikipedia page and cite whatever citations they wanted to cite,
Hmm.
and it would be the control factor on that is going to be whatever the inborn natural, or not natural, but the Wikipedia bots might go in there and correct keywords, or might correct whatever they're programmed to correct, but a person could still make some pretty outrageous claims on Wikipedia without necessarily being challenged on those things until someone like you comes along. Is that right?
Well, okay, so Wikipedia has only been around since 2001, and
Hmm.
when it first started, they really needed people to come in and make Wikipedia articles. So the oversight on Wikipedia wasn't so great in the first years. They didn't have the robots, they didn't have a lot of the software developed. So what happens is there's a lot of articles that exist on Wikipedia right now that are old, written back in 2001 to 2005, and they're not trafficked very much. They don't have um, a lot of people who visit them, maybe psychics that are kind of not known very well, or gurus. That's another one that you see a lot of. And it's got a lot of nonsense on it, maybe even like garage bands or somebody's pet dog. So those pages do exist on Wikipedia and they're not challenged because nobody really visits them. Okay,
Okay.
so fast forward to more recent days, software is developed on Wikipedia that when a Wikipedia page is created and it's brand new and it's launched as a new page, then it goes on to software recognizes it that it's a new page and it goes on lists. And there are Wikipedia editors who really, that's all they do is they look at those lists as they come up and they're generated. And there's thousands of Wikipedia pages created every day.
Hmm.
And they can quickly look at it and see if it has content or if it's nonsense. And what they'll do is they'll just delete them. And they say that, they delete hundreds of pages a day because they're just junk. So it's really hard to get a page through now
Okay.
because it's just hard to see. And then once and there's many people, not just one lone editor who's watching this. There's many people who go through new articles and look at them. And there's usually a discussion about the article before it's deleted, depending on how long it's existed. And because it might be a really meaningful page that needs to be developed, but so far the person who's trying to write the page hasn't done it correctly. And I also should mention it is very difficult to write Wikipedia if you don't know what you're doing. Um,
Right.
Anybody
Right.
can edit. I mean, somebody could you don't even have to have an account. You could just go to a Wikipedia page, hit edit, and start editing. There's no one to approve you. There's no one to look at the edits before you hit, save. So anybody can do it, and that's a benefit, and it's also a problem. So
Right.
we just have to live with it. So we have to, as a crowdsourced, volunteer only organization, it just kind of works. But yeah, you got to take the good and the bad.
Yeah, it's an interesting platform because, for example, something I happen to know about is, the Church of Scientology
Hmm.
had, some generated controversy on Wikipedia because they kept going in and editing the Scientology
That's
pages
right. That's right.
until Wikipedia, I guess, organizationally just said, okay, that's it, we're done. You guys keep
Yeah.
putting stuff in that we know isn't true. We keep debunking it. You keep putting it in. Okay, you're out. These IPs, if
Hmm.
you guys come at us from these IPs, we're done. You can't edit anymore.
That's exactly right. That's what happened. And so a lot of these pages are kind of locked down. And if you look on the edge of some Wikipedia pages, it'll have let's see, Scientology. You'll see there's a little lock and there it is on Scientology. There's a little
Uh,
lock on the corner of the right-hand corner of the page. That means only people who are Wikipedia editors who have like a editing history, not somebody who just made an account, but somebody who's been editing for a while, has so many edits to their name, can edit that Wikipedia page. And if you look at the pages like Scientology or Mormonism or Unification Church or some of the more popular pages that people are getting information, you will see that lead, that's the first few paragraphs there at the top, that is well written. It's very carefully written. You can't
mhm.
just change that because if you do, you're going to have everybody hopping on top of you and saying, no, no, don't touch it, because you have to come to a consensus with the other editors. And some of the editors may be Scientologists. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to write it in such a way that it is neutral yet factual. And it's a skill. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely how I wish government ran, where we had to work together and we really had to try to get along. Wikipedia has a lot of rules that are really great rules. One is assume good faith. Never accuse somebody of something, just assume that they really are trying to do a good job, but they just are making mistakes. They don't know how. There's several rules about editing that we tend to be, I think that if we as a society followed them, we would probably be better society. We certainly have a better government. But
Interesting.
yeah, so Scientology is one of these pages that you can't change. You really can't. I mean, if there's a spelling error or something like that, I guess we could change it, no problem. But if you see on the left-hand side, there's a little tab called Talk. And if you click on Talk, you're going to see an extensive conversation amongst Wikipedia editors. This is where we kind of let our hair down and we can talk a little bit more. But there's extreme conversations. And Scientology probably has tons of conversations that have already been put in, like, in a holds feature that are just like if you want to look at them, but it's what's it called? Archived. Yeah, there you go.
Ah,
Oh, yeah, there it is. There's tons of archives. There's 31 pages of archives for Scientology.
wow.
So this is where the editors are really having a great conversation about things. Some talk pages don't have any information on them whatsoever, and other pages have extensive. And so before anybody tries to change a page, we tell them to go to the talk page and look and see if it's already been discussed, especially if it's a page that's contentious.
Right.
You just can't just go in and change a page. And I've had people who come to me thinking that they can do that. And it's like, no, you don't understand. It doesn't work that way. If you look at homeopathy, which is one of my favorite pages, I
Mm-hmm.
probably made a tiny little edit here and there. And this is a really good example of it. One of the phrases on homeopathy is there's a phrase they're using quackery and then also and a sham. So they say that it's quackery, nonsense, and a sham. And it has
Oh,
citations to those. It took months of back and forth to be able to get those words to stick on that lead. It was atrocious trying to get that to change so we could use the word quackery. As you can expect, people who are homeopaths didn't like the fact that we were using
I'll bet.
quackery.
Yeah.
But we had to prove with citations that the consensus of science and notable experts call it a sham, call it quackery, and call it nonsense. So because we had to have those citations from notable people publishing in notable places, we had to have those first before we could do that. The majority of human beings only look at the lead of a Wikipedia page, we think. They rarely go down
Mm-hmm.
and read the whole thing. But
Mm-hmm.
this is so important because you have to have these pages, and I'll pull up another link really, really quickly. You have to have these pages in great shape because Wikipedia is the 10th largest viewed website in the world. So, and it's commonly cited all over the place. So, like you said with my intro, you didn't have to go and do a bunch of research about who Susan Gerbic was. You just kind of looked at my Wikipedia page.
There it
So,
was. Yeah.
so yeah, it's all there, and lots of people do that. And lots of interviews. You probably have done lots of interviews with people. I bet
Yep.
you, and you get it off their information off their Wikipedia page. Did you do
Absolutely.
that with Seth Andrews? I see you just did him.
I did look up Seth Andrews on Wikipedia. I also happened to meet him personally, and so most of the information I had about him I got directly from him. But prior to him coming here to Denver, I read his entire page.
Well, thank you. We created that Wikipedia page. We wrote that completely for
Wow,
him.
nice.
So, and you'll also see it's in Russian and I think it's in Dutch. So Seth Andrews was a page. A lot of the people that you probably have interviewed,
Mm-hmm.
we wrote their page, or we've had quite a bit of impact on that page. So,
Matt Dillahunty.
yeah, we wrote that. In
Yep.
fact, did I write that one? I'm trying to think. So,
Aaron Ra.
yeah, so
Yeah.
Arnrod, we didn't do that. That was in pretty good shape
Hmm.
beforehand. Dillahunty, let me look really quick. Matt Dillahunty. I'm looking at a list. We've created a few pages. We're over Matt Dillahunty. Since we created the page, and we created the page in August of 2014, so what, 3 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago? It's received 110,000 page views.
Wow.
So it's real important that that page is in great shape, because 110,000 page views, we don't know if a person's looking at it and reading the entire page, or we don't know if it's a unique user or if it's one person clicking on it multiple times. But the media gets their information from that Wikipedia page. Your media, just your podcast is a way of disseminating information. So even if a person doesn't go and read that Wikipedia page of Matt's, they're still getting the information from you. So if you have 3,000, 5,000 people listen to your podcast, what you say has just spread that Wikipedia page even further.
That's right.
So that's why this is so important to have these pages in great shape. And Scientology, I just looked at this really quick. I'm using a tool that's available to anyone. In the last 20 days, Scientology, the Wikipedia page for Scientology in English only, has been accessed 138,000 times.
Wow.
So people are getting their information from here. Yeah. When Leah Remini was in the news, and I'm sad to say I didn't know who Leah Remini was. I've never seen King of Queens. I don't really watch TV or anything of the sort, but I'm a big fan of hers now.
Yeah.
But when she started to, she came out of the church. I've been a longtime reader of Tony Ortega, and I follow everything Scientology pretty much. And it's just fascinating.
It is, isn't it?
It's just so fascinating.
It is.
And it is happening in real time. And it's kind of like politics right now. You think, what a crazy time to be alive, because this is all happening and we could see it unfold. And then, while we're talking right now, who knows what could be happening? It's incredible.
Yep.
But anyway,
Yep.
So with Leah, if I look at her page views over time, you can see that her page view stats have spiked every time one of her shows went on air.
Totally makes sense.
Or reread. And then when she came out and talked about Scientology for the very first time on, not Dancing with the Stars. It was, she did an interview with that very popular woman who has a daytime show called Joan. I know people are watching this, are screaming it out right now. Beautiful big blue eyes.
Ellen?
She's Ellen DeGeneres show. Yeah. So Leah mentioned Scientology maybe a minute. It was very, very short.
Yep.
That she talked about Scientology on the Ellen DeGeneres page day. And I went over and I looked at the Wikipedia stats, and Scientology's page view stats went crazy for that day that aired.
Yep.
And it was powerful. And then when she talked about something else, I think she was on something else. Maybe it was Dancing with the Stars, and she was holding a book. Was it
Blown for Good by Mark Headley?
Was that the one she was holding?
That was the one she was holding, yeah.
I think that day also the Scientology views went crazy too. You can see the spike.
Yep. Because
people were going, Leah Remini, Scientology, what? And then they just Google Scientology, and it's like, boom, So in my opinion, and in the opinion of many people who are interested in science activism or actually education of any sort, is like, how are we going to get out of this mess, this critical thinking mess that we're in right now? One of the best things people can do is we need to take charge and handle what the content they're getting, and the best way of doing that is managing Wikipedia. It's too powerful, and people, like the average person, can take charge of this.
And that's
training
and that's what makes this such a great activism platform. And you're absolutely right, because if you want to disseminate good information and good critical rational information, then having some degree of control over Wikipedia, which all of us have potentially, right? Yeah. And knowing what you're doing with that and being able to propagate good information is absolutely one of the best ways I can think of. Is genius, I think, really, on your part to really take that on as a topic. I mean, at first, when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then I thought, well, I wonder, okay, well, that's an interesting kind of side project. And then the more I thought about it, and more I kind of looked at how much Wikipedia is accessed by everyone at all levels, the more genius it occurred to me as like a really smart thing to take on, because sources of information, well, It's like Trump's trumpet, fake news, fake news, fake news. Well, Wikipedia is crowdsourced, but that doesn't mean it's fake news. And with
Mm-mm.
all the controls and everything that are in place, and the bots and the this and the that, and the fact of citations, which is, of course, incredibly important,
Mm-hmm.
you remove that fake news moniker from that platform and you put something there that really will withstand the test of time. So
Right.
so it's very smart to go
You
into
got it,
this.
Chris. You got it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's absolutely amazing that no one's done this before.
Yeah.
But I think, just knowing my own personality, I think that this needed to be done. There was a very, what is it, a perfect storm window of time that this could have been done. You had to have Facebook because
Mm-hmm.
you just can't do it outside of Facebook. We tried it and it just is not. We tried a forum. We tried just using email. You need to have a personality that is energetic and crazy, because this is insane. When you think about it, I do not have the technical experience. My editors, when they come to me, a lot of them, like I say, probably half are great technical people and the other half are just average people. Once they leave my training, and I do the training,
Mm-hmm.
once they leave my training, they always outsource me. They're always more advanced editors than I am. And I like it that way because and that's the way I feel it should be. Because when I train, I don't use the technical terms that most Wikipedia editors use. I'm still using terminology that's kind of dumbed down as far as how I say things,
Mm.
because I want to make sure that people aren't embarrassed whenever they're trying to learn something. They overthink things all the time. They're always, they make little silly mistakes that they can spend hours looking at going, oh my gosh, I can't figure this stupid thing out. And it's just you've got an extra little bar thing or a little V thing in the place where you shouldn't have. And I want them to not feel like idiots. And I'm fine at being laughed at and being that person in the background who's like, oh my gosh, girl, you're watching one of the videos I made and you could see, how silly I can be and how absolutely unprofessional it can be about, it's not a well-groomed video of training, but they seem to like it and they learn. And as I say, they go on and surpass me all the time. They're all way better editors than I ever would be.
Awesome. What is the time frame? If let's say Joe Smith is out there watching this right now, right? And
Hi, Joe. How you doing?
right, or Jill Jones, right?
Yeah,
And
Jill.
uh and they want to like think about. They're thinking, well, this would be something I'd be interested in contributing to. From zero to hero, what is the time frame to get somebody up to speed and actually editing?
Okay. So good question. So they have to be on Facebook.
Okay.
Just can't, don't even approach me if you're not on Facebook. I usually don't even give out my contact information necessarily. I'm really easy to find. But I want people to be able to come to the project who've been able to do some research. I don't want them to be able to be everything handed to them. I want them to say, oh, I got to find her email. How do I get a hold of her? That kind of thing. I want them to open up their own Wikipedia account and then they would approach me. Usually Facebook is a good way of approaching me, like a private message or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I also ask them to spend some time thinking about this. We have a YouTube channel that has interviews with past editors. I have lectures I've given. I'd like it if they would go to the YouTube channel and give it some thought, because this is a commitment. It isn't something that you're going to learn and just, you're on your own and that's it. I mean, I guess you could. Lots of people have learned how to edit from me and then have gone on to do other things, but they still have the skill of knowing how to edit.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Facebook page that has all kinds of information on it. Every time we release a new page or something comes out about us, we put it on the Facebook page. There's lots of information for somebody to find if they're really interested. But once you come to me and you say, hey, I've got my username and here's my email and I really want to join your project, I'm not really concerned what kind of skeptic you are. You could be a troll. You could be a person who is a believer. Maybe you're a homeopath. You could come to me and infiltrate our group. More power to you. Come on, Scientologists.
Right.
That's fine. Um, I've never, to my knowledge, had anybody who's done that. But the idea of forcing somebody to abide by the rules of Wikipedia, citations and rules and feedback and all that, I would love to have them on my team. It would be great. That'd be hilarious. But so there is no test. You just have to be able to accept criticism, constructive criticism. You need to be able to socialize, get along with people. You need to be, we like people who are friendly and who work well with a group as well as are self-motivated. But again, this is something they decide on their own. So then they come to me. I'm ready to start. Well, if I happen to be near my computer, I can start you in minutes. I have a Google Sheet that has every lesson you have to learn, every video you need to watch. Usually I will be your trainer. So everything's done one-on-one for all the time you're training. You're also immediately put into the secret cabal. And right now there's 97 people in there, and they speak different languages besides English. But everybody speaks English, but the skills vary depending on who you're talking to. And that's no problem. We don't care at all. We will use Google Translate or whatever we have to do to get so we can communicate with people. And then you'll start in on the conversations, and that, it might be intense. It might be something you have no problem handling. Some Facebook skills are really important to have. We have several people who aren't really great at Facebook, but they're getting better. And then your first lesson, you're pretty much, I think the first lesson, there's probably 3 or 4 things you need to read or videos you need to watch. Second lesson, you're starting your editing. There's 2 assignments right off. One is adding photos to a Wikipedia page, and another one is adding a author link, which is something that's a little technical. I don't need to explain right now, but it's edits that you make on your own. And then you start watching more videos. I think somebody told me there's about 20 hours of video watching.
Okay, altogether.
And some people will binge watch them, and some people do it over time.
Right.
And then there's some blogs to read and some assignments, and all along you'll know when to contact your trainer. And there's a few things that you have to get some feedback on before you make it live. There's nothing they could do that would harm anything. We could always fix everything. So in general, an average person takes 3 months.
Okay.
It could take you weeks to be fully trained, or it could take you a year. It's entirely self-paced. As long as you're continuing doing it and you're like, hey, Susan, I'm taking exams right now, or I'm trying to write this essay for school, or, I have a really busy week at work, or 6 months at work. As long as you're in contact, I'm not going to drop you out of the group. I'm going to keep you hanging around. But, you got to pop in once in a while and do some editing here and there. We have many people who are teachers who are able to edit mostly in the summer months,
right.
Whenever they're out, and then they pop back in, and everybody's a little different. So we're getting the work done as we can. Some people don't even edit. They just are on the secret cabal, and they go through and they say, somebody will post on there, I'm almost done with this page. What do you think? And somebody will come in and say, I don't have a clue what you're saying. Can you reword that? What are you talking about? We like people who don't have expertise in the area, because that way if they can't understand what you've just written, then maybe you're too close to it and it's too technical, or
that's a great point. I think I just read the other day that Einstein quote, if you can't explain it to a 3rd grader, you don't get it yourself.
Perfect. Yeah. And we get so involved in the pages that we're editing sometimes that we assume that everybody knows what we're talking about, but we're writing for audiences all over the world. So maybe somebody here doesn't understand somebody who's reading it in Africa or in Russia wouldn't understand it. And then we translate the pages into other languages as well. So, we've got to be able to make it readable. That's another hallmark of a GSOW page. It's readable. It almost always has a lot of photos. We'll try to put audio of somebody's voice.
Nice.
I think Seth Andrews has got audio on it, and I'm pretty sure it's on there because I actually recorded it from him. I know him. Look real quick. If you look at Seth Andrews' page And no, it doesn't have the audio. Darn it. I
Oh.
thought I had audio in there, but there's several pages that actually have audio, and you'll see it right underneath the info box.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a little thing. Richard Dawkins, I had to pull him into a corner last hey, come on, Richard. I need to get this audio. If you listen to, if you look at Richard Dawkins' page, there's audio of him and I talking, and it's under his info box. James Randi also, um,
Nice. Nice.
lots of different people. We've created the audio because we want the page to be more interesting. We want them to have a more personal touch to it, in that you can hear their voice, hear them saying their own name.
Well, I tell
I thought
you,
I had yours. Yeah.
it would be really nice to go into some of those more technical pages. I mean, I know you guys aren't technical, but um, I think that's a really important point you're making. Is really what I'm trying to get to, because there are some pages that I've dived into on logic and on critical thinking and on rhetoric and on some science issues. And it might as well be gobbledygook, because it's clearly written by people who are trained professionals in that field, and yet they're not Neil deGrasse Tyson. They do not know how to communicate to the common man, which is really Neil's and Bill Nye's claim to fame. Is that they can be that buffer, translator, communicator figure,
Right.
and that is so important in popularizing science. So these points you're making are not insignificant points.
Right. And I totally agree. And I've had people who've given me flack for that too. And it's like, I can't be everywhere. But on the left-hand side of most Wikipedia pages, and I'm looking at evolution right now, there's a whole bunch of languages on the side.
Mm.
It's on the very, very, very left-hand side, you will see languages written in the language. It won't say Spanish, it'll say Espanol. It's written in the characters of that language, so you might not even know what it is.
Right.
But if you scroll down, you will find, in some cases, you will find a Wikipedia page called Simple English.
What?
And I'm looking
I was
looking
just
at it
about to
right
make
now.
a joke about that. First grade, second grade, third grade.
And so I'm looking at the evolution page right now. I was able to find it very quickly because I knew what to look for. And it's written in simple English for a person who has trouble with some of the, maybe it's in high school or middle school English, something like that. And you can look at it and you could read it and you could understand it better.
Wow.
Now, what I would like to see, and since I'm nobody in the Wikipedia world, I'm just somebody, What I would like to see is at the top of the Wikipedia page for a term like evolution is right under the word evolution. It would say, this page also exists in simple English.
Right.
And
right.
I should say that like bigger bold. And then people would know that, I'm not getting this because this is really overcomplicated. But if I click on that link, but it's there. And so some people, and not people in the GSOW project, but in some projects, they just go through and they take this terminology and they write it in simple English. I would love to see people who are scientists, who are good at explaining things in terms like that, to just devote their retirement maybe just to getting more pages written in simple English.
Big time.
So it exists. It's just,
wow. I'm totally learning something new every day here. This is awesome. I truly did not know that feature even existed on Wikipedia, and I use it all the time. So I am definitely going to be taking a look over all the ancillary, border stuff going on Wikipedia pages, because this is really fascinating. Now,
there's so much in. Yeah.
Okay, now let me get to just a little bit of maybe what kind of controversy you guys might have experienced over the years in doing this. I mean, have you found groups that are counter to you in terms of people in the woo or alternative medicine community who are out there trying to undo your work, or actively, trying to promote their own in a similar fashion? What do you find with that?
Back in the 2013s or 12s or 13s, if anybody Googles Susan Gerbic, you're going to probably find some probably incendiary things that people have said and done about me. I'm not very well liked in the paranormal community. They say that I'm ruining Wikipedia. They believe that we should be able to have balance on a Wikipedia page. It should have the opinion of the homeopaths as well as the experts on, real medicine. They believe that their idea of what is a citation and what is evidence are not what the science community thinks of is when you say the word science or evidence or theory or whatever.
Yep.
So what has happened over the years is that my name, Guerilla Skepticism, is kind of aggressive. And even though we're not, we're following all the rules. We're really nice people, usually. I mean, yeah, we're people. So, I mean, we have cats and dogs, and we're good people. So, mm, I've found many sites and blogs and things like that, or people complaining about Wikipedia and how the gorillas have taken over, or the skeptics have taken over. And now my team, the Guerrilla Skepticism Wikipedia project, is not we're not everywhere. The majority of Wikipedia editors are skeptics, whether they identify themselves as that or not. They are pretty much doing the work, the hard work. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not just us. It's not a team of 900 100 people. It's thousands of editors who are trying to abide by the rules. So we get blamed for things constantly that we've never touched. Astronomy pages. Um, I don't know if you know who Deepak Chopra,
Oh my
and
God, yes.
yeah, he doesn't like me at all. And
I
Rupert
don't know
Sheldrake,
why.
yeah, Rupert Sheldrake is a British version of Deepak Chopra, and they're friends. And Rupert Sheldrake went on a long rant about me, wrote many blogs mentioning me for 6 months or so. Even when he was lecturing somewhere, he would go and he would lecture, and he would just go on and on about the guerrilla skeptics and that Gerbic person, and how we're ruining everything. A lot of these groups just said, we're out of here. We're going to create our own Wikipedia. We're done. And one group I remember was trying to launch their own Wikipedia, and they said, we need our own Gerbic. Oh, God, that was wonderful. I love that. So I went under a false name and I approached them and I said, hey, I've edited Wikipedia before. And so, I was writing on their blog saying, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's take these skeptics, out. And they were just all talk, no go.
Right.
So for a while they had their Gerbic, they just didn't know it.
That's
And
hilarious.
yeah, it was back 2013, 2014, right around there. But what I have found is that people love this project. I mean, love the Guerrilla Skepticism Wikipedia project, but it's a lot of work. It is work. And when you're trained, you're not done. You've got work to do. And you gotta walk the walk.
Yep.
You could quit. It's not like you're joining the military or the Sea Org or something, but you have to. You're doing this for a bigger reason. You need to produce stuff once in a while. So the paranormal community, like I said, they don't understand the rules. They don't understand how this all works, and they're banned off of Wikipedia a lot of the time because they don't know what they're doing, and they find that there's a lot of work. They want somebody else to do it. They keep
Right.
looking at each other like, "Hey, we should do this," meaning you should do this.
Right. Yeah,
So no, we've had
you should do
yeah,
this. You guys.
there's no way. I mean, Conservapedia exists, and there's some other wiki projects out there, but you know what? Go ahead and work on that. That's how I feel, because that just keeps you away from the real Wikipedia pages, which are really important. So go busy yourself somewhere else.
Well,
Fine, go rant and blogs. So we have no. So nobody's doing this.
okay.
There's
I
nothing.
I wonder, a thought I had earlier when you were talking about, the fact that when you get into the training of this and you have to learn about citations, you have to learn about evidence, you have to learn about the fact that you have to have substantive information backing up your claims. I would almost encourage people who are in the alternative, medicine and skeptic, or not skeptic, sorry, the woo world, to try, to come on board, because I think the learning curve might undo some of that wooey think, some of that sort of
Exactly.
denialism.
Do you know who Brian Dunning is?
Yes.
He has a skeptic. Okay, he's a very good friend of mine, and he's a very wise man. Anybody who's not doesn't know who Brian Dunning is, you can find him on Wikipedia.
Hmm.
But he also has a podcast called Skeptoid.
Yep.
And so Brian Dunning's theory, or his thought, and I follow this, is that when you have somebody in your life who believes in a paranormal subject, the best way to get at them, and you might be able to answer this if it's kind of true in Scientology itself,
Mm-hmm.
is not to go directly and attack their beliefs at all. What you should do is find some other kind of commonality you share with them. So maybe like the Flat Earth Society,
Yep.
or Bigfoot, or something like that. And you approach it in that way. You talk about maybe there's an article about the Flat Earth Society, and you can talk about why that just is silly. And then you discuss it in a way that it's not, you don't want to attack them. You don't want to be like they're idiots or stupid or anything like that. But you talk to them about it in a way that, well, why do they think that the earth is flat? What evidence do they really have? I don't understand. What are they reading? Or and then, maybe you can end up having a great conversation with that person about what evidence really means, what,
Right.
where would you find your sources? And then in a way, once you've got that rapport with somebody and you've kind of defined your terms with them, what does evidence mean, and what is a citation, and what is it, what's the difference between belief and evidence, then possibly they're going to start talking and thinking about their beliefs a little bit more. And then, so in the same thing, like let's say a homeopath came to me and said, fine, try to teach me. Well, okay, I'll teach you, but I'm going to teach you using a page like a psychic.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to, oh, I don't believe in psychics. That's a bunch of BS. Well, fine. We're going to learn on a psychic's page. And once they learn how to do the citations and understand what evidence means, then whenever they go to the homeopathic kind of pages, you'd be like, okay, these rules are the rules everywhere, so how is it different from the psychic page you worked on? Where's the evidence? Where's the citation? Who are the critics? Who are the experts? What evidence you have? Not that anybody's ever done that, but anyway, that's kind of how I approach it. It's the way Brian Dunning does it.
Well, it is a strategy, and I will comment on it briefly just because it is a not a mainline, like this is how you do it and it's always going to work sort of thing, but it is absolutely true, and it has been suggested, recommended by cult recovery counselors that I've spoken to, like Steve Hassan, that if you can, get somebody exactly like you said, on a topic or if you can find common ground on some other, wooey, weird, alternative thing that that you can both agree is kind of goofy, you're introducing critical thinking to them, without doing a direct frontal assault on their sacred cow, whatever it is. Because, we are amazing. Human beings are amazing. How we can just have these blankets of these cloaks of denial on one area and yet be fully skeptical on another. It is absolutely fascinating. And but you break through some of those barriers by getting a person thinking more critically about anything.
Exactly. 100%. You're right. You've got it. And so that's where you have to have your, ducks in a row. And another thing that Dunning says is not to attack a person who has silly beliefs, because, and pick and choose. Don't try to, don't attack them if they believe in the flat earth. Okay. Yeah. Subtly, you're probably thinking, oh God, but it's not going to harm them necessarily. That belief itself is not going to harm them. Save your bluster. Save it for whenever they're going to a cancer quack. Save it for a time when it really is important.
Right.
Don't try to chide them on something that is just silly.
Right.
You could kind of say, oh really, what makes you think that? Why what is it that makes you think that?
Right. This is
attack them.
Exactly. This is where I encourage street epistemology.
Oh, I love that. Oh,
yeah.
I follow that too.
Yes.
I don't know how I have time to do anything, to be honest with you. I follow so many different things. We could have a long talk about Scientology.
Oh yeah.
I'm serious. It's just so fascinating. You know what I should mention, Chris,
yes.
before you get sick of talking to me. There is a huge world of people out there who would be shocked to know that I run a Wikipedia editing group, because what I do we all have our passions, like, psychics are my passion, and I call them grief vampires. So I really have a lot of fun with them. So anybody interested in that, you Google Susan Gerbic and then the word psychic, and you'll see that I've been writing about psychics and for several years.
I actually had that on my list of things I want to talk about.
Okay.
And
sorry.
Well, what's going to happen now is we've run out of time for my show, but we're gonna talk again, because
Good.
Because I'm glad to hear that that is something that is as passionate to you, because I wanted to talk to you about that because you've done some amazing work in that area too with some of your
You
sort of,
found that out, huh?
oh yeah, it's,
Ah.
well, I read your Wikipedia page.
Well, it's been fun. I loved it.
Yes, and I was fascinated by it, and we are definitely going to cover that in another episode, because I guess actually, now that we're sitting here talking about it, I see it actually does deserve its own show.
Oh,
So
and you know what, that might be for the best because you
yeah.
know what, Chris, the latest thing I did a sting that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know the difference between hot reading and cold reading,
Mm-hmm.
but we were trying to prove a hot reading with evidence, and we got it. We got it in a way that is conclusive. It's amazing. And I can't talk about it completely. I can't name the psychic. It's probably somebody nobody would have heard of. But right now there is a investigative journalist who's doing an article on it.
Great.
And so once that comes out, well then, I can talk about it obviously. We just don't want that psychic to know that they're about to be outed. So yeah, so
Right.
I'd love
Well,
to
tell
come
you
and
what.
talk about
Yeah.
it.
Well, just reach out to me after
Hopefully it'll
that.
be out by then.
Yeah. Reach out to me when the article comes out. We'll do another show, because I really do want to talk about that. That's I've always been fascinated by the debunking that James Randi has done. With
Well,
and what was that guy's name that he did on the
Peter
Carson
Popoff?
show? Well,
Peter Popoff?
Peter Popoff's thing was awesome, and then Uri Geller.
Oh, Uri.
Yeah, Uri Geller. Yeah, with the
Yeah.
spoons,
Yeah.
and
Oh, I
debunking
know all
that.
that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could have a long conversation about Uri.
exactly. Well, about what you've done,
Oh, well, yeah. Uri is a very talented mentalist who knows 2 tricks.
right? Exactly.
And he's milked it all the way to the bank into fame and fortune.
Yes, he has.
Hey, more power to him, I guess.
Yeah, and Peter Popoff's wonderful curative
He's
miracle water.
back. He's back.
I know, it's ridiculous, these guys. All right. Well, anyway, but we have kind of run out of time now, so I want to thank you for this. Now, where should people at least start looking for you? I'll put it that way. What would be
Facebook,
a place to go?
Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. It's the easiest things. And I am touring all over the place this summer. I am going to be I'm putting together a tour of skeptics in the pubs. It's, events. I'm going to be speaking at a skeptic conference in Europe and Poland in September. And also I'm on a panel in a conference in Italy, along with James Randi. He'll be there as well.
Wow.
But in the meantime, I'm going to go to do small venues all the way leading up until I come back. So I'm going to be in Oslo, Stockholm, Copenhagen, another place near Copenhagen. I can't pronounce it. Poland, Germany. There's a place in Germany, probably Budapest, maybe the Czech Republic. And then, so I do a lecture all over because it needs to be explained to people hands-on. People go, you do what? It really does need to be kind of explained to them. They just like, you're editing Wikipedia. What about it?
People do need to know about this because, initially it sounds like, okay, you're editing Wikipedia, big deal. But I think we've shown that it actually is a big deal. And it's a great way for people to step up, so.
And people who are remote areas too, they don't have places. As long as you have an internet connection, that is kind of important.
Yeah, you kind of need that.
Facebook and internet connections.
That's right. Okay, good. Well, Susan, thank you very much for being on board here. Again, I really appreciate it. And thanks for taking the time. We're going to... Absolutely. Well, we're going to wrap up now. So, folks, thanks for coming around and watching. Please like and share this podcast all over the interwebs. We would really like to get word of Susan's work out there. And, of course, just word of how awesome the Sensibly Speaking podcast is out there. So, thanks a lot for coming around. Please leave your feedback or comments on YouTube or at sensiblyspeaking.com. And I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.